As the Lakers were bounced from this year's playoffs in an early first-round exit, 4-1 series loss to Minnesota. Luka averaged 30.2 points per game, while LeBron averaged 25.4 a game. However, James made it clear on the Mind the Game podcast that the duo can't do it all by themselves. Take a listen.
I've definitely learned over the years that teams win championships. And, it's never, always. Teams always win championships. And yes, individuals get a lot of the accolades and the praise, but a collective group, wins championships. Now, you have your big guys that make big plays at the end of games, throughout the game, or whatever the case may be. But ultimately, teams win championships. And I understand that. And it's never just about me and Luka. It was never just about, Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. It was always Minnesota versus the Lakers. And I understand that. And I am at a point in my career now where I don't lose sleep over that. Like, how did me and Luka lose? No. Well, yeah. There's 8 other guys on the floor.
Yeah. Ooh, potentially juicy. Windy, any problems with the comments?
I happen to agree with every single syllable that he said. He's at a spot in his career where he isn't going to have to prove anything. We're in the gravy portion of his career, and he's absolutely correct. He's been on teams where he's been the far and away dominant player, and it hasn't been enough. He carried the 2007 Cavs, for example, to the finals. It was amazing they got there, and then they got wiped out by the Spurs because they had a vastly better team. He's been on the Heat team that got there by a narrow margin and got wiped out by the Spurs. And in this series, the Lakers at a certain point, JJ Redick only had trust in 5 players, whereas the Wolves had a 6th man of the year over there in Naz Reid and all kinds of production from all up and down the lineup. So I also don't think this Lakers team is in position. I mean, I think there was a smoke and mirrors thing where they could have made a run. There was a lane they could have hit. They didn't. I don't think the Lakers team is built out. And by the way, they don't just need a center. They probably need at least 3 players this offseason to have a real chance to jump up there. I agree.
I say your body language tells me that you feel otherwise. But just let me say that I agree with Wendy. What do you want this man to say? You want him to throw Luka under the bus? JJ Redick already did that with conditioning. At the end of the day, it doesn't behoove LeBron to articulate his passion or his fight. You know who he is. You know what he stands for. You know how competitive he is. You know he's willing to do anything it would take to win another championship. Just this line here, doesn't lose sleep, does not mean that he does not hold himself accountable or Luka accountable. Of course he does. But saying that publicly does nothing for him. You know how he is behind closed doors. It's the same guy that's going to take Luka and say, hey, look, we got to be in championship condition to win this. And yes, personnel does play into this. How do we make moves to get better personnel? We ran up against some dudes who are younger, who have more legs, who have more athletic ability, and we were undermanned. And also JJ had to learn on his coaching curve as well. So all these things are true. We know what it is.
Y'all finish?
I knew it.
Wendy, Jay. LeBron James was 1,000% correct, and so are y'all. Why didn't you just spend time and get in front of the microphone and say the sky's blue? Who the hell doesn't know that he's right?
Not today.
That's why I'm looking like that. It's obvious. It's totally true. Here's why I look that way and why I look at y'all with a raised eyebrow over this. While it's 1,000% true, I don't disagree with a word that he said. And it was a complete waste of time to hear him say that. What really I rail against is that the attitude at the negotiating table? At the negotiating table, when you walk in and you say, I deserve $50 million a year. I deserve a $250 to $300 million contract. When somebody else is getting paid the mid-level, the veteran minimum or whatever, of course we know a team gets it done for you. We understand that. I'm just saying that's not the mentality that you have when you go to the negotiating table and you believe you're worth 2 times, 5 times, 10 times more than some of your teammates. So if that's the reality of the situation, don't knock the fans. Don't knock basketball viewers. Don't knock somebody for having higher expectations for those who require more than others require. You deserve it, but with that comes expectations. The Lakers are home. They lost to a better team. We understand that. We understand that you needed a team to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. We understand that the Lakers weren't built to beat Minnesota. But in the same breath, not as it pertains to LeBron because he maximizes his potential the way he takes care of himself or whatever. But we can pick several stars or several people that are getting paid like stars in the NBA, and they have no business being in those positions. We know that. And that ain't just about team. That's also about you as an individual not maximizing your potential. And Jay, you know that better than me. There are plenty of players that you can look at in the league that's getting paid a boatload of money, and they don't produce. We got to recognize that, too.
All right, let's keep it cooking. Is right
in an era of basketball. You could sort of break up basketball into the time before Michael made that shot and the time after he did. And so we decided we put together, and Mr. Wilbon will enjoy this, today's Green List, which is brought to you by Hidden Valley Ranch. It is the top 5 most memorable Michael Jordan shots. I'm nervous to do this in front of Wilbon because I'm nervous he's going to disagree. No one knows this better than I do. At number 5, April 30th, 1991, Michael Jordan dunking on an entire Knicks team, including Patrick Ewing. This is one, he's going one way. Oh, no, he's not. Sorry, Charles Oakley. Sorry, Patrick Ewing. That is Jordan in his face. Maybe the most vicious dunk of his career. At number 4, Marv Albert captured it so well as a spectacular move. Jordan in the first championship the Bulls would win in 91. This is game 2. That was the game where he made all of those threes, but perhaps best remembered for switching to the left hand during the game. Let's then go to the most important shots that he made. At number 3, we go all the way back to 1982. This was Michael Jordan making the shot that wins the NCAA championship for North Carolina as a freshman. A team that was loaded with future Hall of Famers, James Worthy, Sam Perkins, all the guys on that team. That's the shot that winds up winning it. Michael Jordan was a freshman. Next, at number 2, the final shot. Jordan had stolen the ball from Karl Malone on the other end and then comes down and leaves the hand in the air over Byron Russell to win his 6th championship. This winds up being really the last moment that Michael Jordan had in Chicago. But at number 1, Michael, I did put the shot. It was, again, 36 years ago this week over Elo. That was a series in which Cleveland was heavily favored. The Bulls wind up making a run all the way to the conference.
Chào mừng các bạn đã quay trở lại với kênh YouTube của mình. Bây giờ mình sẽ tiếp tục đi tô màu để gửi tặng đến các bạn. Và đây mình cần chuẩn bị đó là bút sáp màu. Đây là sản phẩm in sẵn để mình tô màu này. Đây là điện thoại để quay video này. Đây là điện thoại để mình quay video. Đây là giá đỡ điện thoại. Bây giờ mời các bạn cùng theo dõi quá trình mình tô màu. Và các bạn xem video của mình thì đừng quên ấn like và đăng ký kênh để ủng hộ mình nhé. Xin cảm ơn.